Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. There's only one mic, so I will try to project my voice for my things, and then we'll go from there. So Paula, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Paula Ledney, and this is so within my role of extension, I am the chief of the team, where mostly with farm transition, I specialize in the retirement planning aspects. So that covers retirement planning and Medicare and Social Security, along with building a personal budget for retirement. I also dabble in taxation with Sam as well.
And where are you located?
So I'm located out of Somerset County, but I work statewide. So my home base is Somerset.
And I kind of briefly introduced myself, and I'm Samantha Gehrett. I'm a dairy business educator located here in Cumberland County, but serve a statewide team so I can travel wherever. I do a lot of business cash flows analysis, transition planning, and then my master's is actually in ag biosecurity and homeland security side of things. Prior to joining Extension, I actually was an accountant with Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. I've worked with several Tracy, Vance, Jason, Jen. So I've worked with them, trained under them. Trained under the best, as I say. So before we get into it, this is going to be an interactive presentation. So those of you that have a smartphone, we're going to attempt this. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Or if you just want to give your answer, that's fine. But to get us started with the presentation, and Jen will go into this more, but how many of you have wills? Wow, that's a larger number than what I usually see. Usually it's like 1 or 2 people. So, all right. So we're going to speak on the retirement aspect. So again, Charlie already brought Stephen Covey up. Begin with the end in mind. So this is going to be our first poll question. So up here, if you have a smartphone, there's a QR code. You should be able to get that if you bring up your camera. And it will automatically, what you guys are going to write in there, and it's anonymous. No one knows what you put. It should pop up here. So let's see if this actually works. So what does retirement look like to you? And if you don't, if you want to just raise your hand and give us.
And can you make that QR code?
Yeah, so Jason, is your closer? Never mind. Here. And if you need this, there'll be a couple more questions up here. Are coming up.
I think this is the first time
Yeah, this is the first time you guys are our guinea pigs here. Oh, sorry.
So this is always nice for folks that made us feel comfortable talking about finances and retirement planning. This gives you a way to put your sponsors in there.
Did anybody get it to work?
Yeah.
Did anyone put an answer in yet? Hey, Jason, do me a favor, and can you, oh, Vance is right beside there. Or if you, can you touch just like off like that screen there? Just like, I want that bottom bar to go away. Because are you guys putting answers in? There you go. Yep, that's what I thought. There we go. It's working. Woo. Those that don't have a, if you want to call out what you want to do, say, there we go.
I think it goes at more than one and it's
Yeah.
if you need it, it gets bigger. So let's see what
Aircraft. Who's flying an aircraft? Okay, so we've got happy, ready, labor, personnel, enjoying freedom, ownership, farm, headaches, discretionary time, travel, keep work, roots, wife, save, travel. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so where does retirement planning fit into your succession plan? So we do your farm succession plan, as I always say, it's an umbrella. And under this umbrella, we have business planning, we have retirement planning, transition planning, and estate planning. And, most of this is gonna be covered by everybody today, some of it, it's gonna take way longer, so. We need to consider the two generations, so we've got the retiring generation and the successor generation. And they both have unique needs. So the retiring farmer, so retirement's on the horizon for you. Whether you're retiring completely or you're still being involved on the farm, you will need to draw on retirement income sources at this stage to slowly be transitioning out. For the successor farmer, retirement may be years away, but whether you're farming full-time or part-time, this is the time that you are accumulating your assets and you're investing for your future retirement. So, retirement planning, does anyone want to give me why, farmers are unique with retirement planning? That's one of them. Many farmers are self-employed with no access to traditional plans, tend to invest in farm assets instead of saving/investing. And we usually want to keep the farm in the family. We say think of retirement as a three-legged stool here. So you're gonna have your savings and your investments, you're gonna have those tax advantage retirement plans. And you'll also have Social Security, and we'll talk about what these three are. Okay, next one, and it should pop up on your phone here, for the next question. What are your biggest concerns about retirement? I think we only have 4, so you're at number 2 here. That's all right. Anyone else want to, those that don't, aren't going to do this?
If we're saying thing here.
Yeah. Not enough money, or having enough money to live off of adequate financial reserves when. Okay, next one, keep your phone up because it should just have gone. How many people have done any retirement planning? Some, a little bit. I wanted to put another answer there. and I think- What, this question did not come up? Try that. I'm gonna click on this one just to see. You might need to refresh your phone. Try to refresh it. We had an educator institute a couple weeks ago, and we were talking, like, a speaker had one of these interactive things, and I was like, oh, let's try it.
Or better than.
Yeah, it ran better than this. Did it go or not? What? Okay, yeah, so let's do, how many people have done some retirement planning? How many have done a lot? None? No retirement planning? Thoughts? Just getting started? And none. Move on. Okay, So definition of self-employed. So why do I bring this up? Because most farmers are self-employed. A self-employed person does not work for a specific employer who pays them a consistent salary or wage. Self-employed individuals, or independent contractors earn income by contracting with a trade or a business directly. Self-employment may not be subject to tax withholding, so those who are self-employed are responsible for paying their taxes. And a self-employed person must file annual taxes and pay estimated quarterly tax. They are also typically required to pay a self-employment tax in addition to the income tax. And Tracy, did I miss anything there? Are we good? Okay, pass it over to Paula. I'm going to sit by that computer for Paula's questions.
Okay, so one of the things we hear often is that, hey, I'm a farmer, I don't have access to traditional retirement plans. I'm not a W-2 wage payroll employee. I don't have a yearly wage paycheck deduction into a 401k or a 403. So we're going to tell you that there are investment vehicles for the self-employed folks. So we want to just go over these 5 of them. So I'm just going to go over these briefly here. So you have your IRA, which is an individual retirement account. And I think this is the one that folks are probably the most familiar with. We have a solo 401k, which is similar to like a large company 401k, but it's for one person. We have a simplified employee pension plan, a simple IRA plan, and a defined benefit plan. So this is, like I said, the IRA is an individual retirement account, and that comes in the traditional and Roth varieties. And how many folks here know what the Roth means? Okay, so the traditional is when you put money into your IRA that's already been taxed. The Roth is when you put money in pre-tax. Oh, reverse, you're right. So, yeah, sorry. So the traditional is when you put it in pre-tax, so you have to pay tax on that at retirement. Roth is you pay the tax up front, and when the money comes out in retirement, you're required to taxes on it. So there's benefits for having money in both of those. If you have access to put money into both of those types of accounts or in that type of vehicle, you can do that. So that's kind of get into more the intricacies of retirement planning, but just know that those 2 options are available to you. So in 2023, you can put in 6,500 and 7,500 if you're age 50 plus. What's nice about the IRA is there's so many investment choices in the IRA. So when we talk about the vehicle and the passengers, so you have an IRA is basically a car or the vehicle. And within that IRA, you can put many different types of investments. So you could invest in like real estate within an IRA. You can invest in mutual funds within an IRA. You can invest in individual stocks within an IRA. You can invest in part within an IRA. So I know that last year at a conference we were at, I had a gentleman come up and tell me, oh, he was putting fine art into one of his IRAs. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So that the IRA is something you can invest. It's just the umbrella that put your investments. So that's a nice thing to have. IRAs are very easy to open and maintain. So you can basically go to Fidelity website, Vanguard website, and very quickly and simply work through their accounts and open them up. It's very, very easy to do. So, and there's no required minimum distributions for a Roth. So once you get to retirement, there's no, the federal government is not making you take that money out at any particular time because you've already paid taxes on it. So the Roth gives you a little more flexibility. You're in a traditional IRA, you will have required minimum distributions. We call them RMDs. So you will need to take those out because the government has said, hey, you haven't paid taxes on this money yet. We want our taxes at some point. We're not going to let you get away without paying taxes. So, there's different reasons to go into traditional versus Roth. And we could do a whole couple-hour talk on this. We're just going to touch on these. Another one is your solo 401k. So this is a one participant 401k plan. Sole proprietors can use this, and you don't need wages to qualify for this. So this one you can put a lot more money in. It's 66,000 contribution limit in 2023. Catch-up contributions of 100%. You can't have employees under this, but you can hire a spouse. And you only have specific IRS filing requirements when the account is over 2,500,000. So I don't expect you to remember all this or really think too much about this. Just know that these plans are available out here. There are ones that you can put in a significant amount of money. So when you are close to retirement, you can put money into some of these. You may want to do that as a Roth contribution. There could be advantages for you to put money into these even close to retirement. But the real beauty of these is when you're younger is putting that money. So for those incoming generations that are the younger age, the long time frame, solo 401k is a great investment opportunity. So then we also have our simplified employee pension, and you can read that. You can contribute as much as 25% of your net earnings from self-employment, up to 66,000 for 2023. So again, no or few employees, sole proprietors can use, and this you can establish with the one-page form. So you can go on the IRS website and download a one-page form and set this up. So most of these are not hard to do, although I would recommend if you are doing that you work with an accountant just to make sure you're doing everything correctly. Yes.
This one and the solo 401k, are they traditional or Roth as far as the tax?
You can't do both.
Okay.
I believe you can do both. A lot of these things change every year. So if you really want to look these up on a yearly basis and see if any of these have changed. But like I said, I hope this one up to see that it truly is a one-page form. It's a pretty easy looking one-page form to do. There's a simple IRA. So this one is more for farm corporations and receiving a salary from the business. And those are contribution limits 15,500. This one you can have up to 100 employees. You would be required to make employee contributions to this. And this one's more complex. So this would be something you probably want to set up with your accountant, your attorney. But this is something that's really nice too, that when you are a larger farm business and you're trying to attract and retain employees, you can offer them some type of retirement plan. That's an incentive for them to come work for you. I think we all know how hard it is to attract and keep employees these days. And the last one is just a defined benefit plan is a pretty general term, basically a pension plan. So if anyone has had, you don't really see many pension plans these days. These are kind of older folks may have. Steel mills used to have really nice pension plans. You don't see that many of those today, but they still are out there. And you can basically start your own pension plan as a self-employed person. So what's really nice about them is that you can have a very high income. You can put a lot of money into these plans. So if you are getting closer to retirement and you want to put some money away tax advantaged, you can do your own type of pension plan. Or if you have a few high valued employees, say that they're your immediate family that you want to reward, that's a way for you, all of you, to put a lot of money in that. So this one definitely, there are filing requirements and there's a set of different standards you have to meet every year. So you would, if you are going this route, you would definitely want to use an accountant, attorney, or both to help you set this up. So these are just to show you that there's really no excuse to not put money away for retirement, even if you are self-employed. I mean, there's always good reasons not to do it. Everyone can come up with reasons, but there are plans available for you. Okay, so you want to think, well, why these retirement plans instead of just investing in your farm assets? So what's really nice about putting money aside in these vehicles is that you have options. It is a nice pool of liquid funds that you can use for your retirement needs as you work through the farm transition process. So we talked about the stepwise transition, that this could take 10 years, if not more. While you're waiting on some of the income to perhaps come in from the younger generation, taking over the farm, you will have some liquid funds to do whatever you wish to do with them. I know most farm folks aren't thinking they're going to retire to the Bahamas. Most likely you want to stay on farm in your own house and just step back from the operation or have time to do the things you want. having those, that pool of liquid funds can really help you. Sam, do you have anything you want to add here? Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about Social Security, and a lot of times this isn't the most exciting topic for folks. And if you are near retirement age, yes, you're concerned about Social Security. Now, if you're younger, you may think, well, why do I need to worry about Social Security? Check's just going to show up. It's going to be great. I don't have to do anything. Well, that is definitely not the case for Social Security. So what I like to do is I like to give a little bit of background about Social Security. And this is a pretty standard definition. It's a federal program. It provides retirement benefits, and it also provides disability income to all of our folks and their spouses, and it benefits for children and survivors. So Social Security is way more than retirement. And if you're not concerned about your income, you know, it's a relatively small amount of money, and it should be considered a small part of your retirement assets. There are a lot of different benefits that come with Social Security. So I like to give a little overview of the history of Social Security because I think it really gives people an understanding of the complaint about the complexity of Social Security and the funding issues of Social Security. This kind of tells you, gives you a little bit of insight into why Social Security is the way it is. So first precursor of Social Security was in the Middle Ages, and that was the feudal land system, where you had a lord that owned the land and had serfs that farmed. And it was then that lord, which I think that's where the term landlord came from, feudal lord, had serfs that farmed it, and that lord took care of those folks when they could no longer farm. So they would provide for them. So that was the first time. That was the landlord had the responsibility for taking care of people in their old age. And this was kind of codified, like in 1620, there was a set of 4 laws that were developed in England. And it was the first time that was put into law that the state had the responsibility to take care of people. And it was a system that was very different than Social Security. They had the deserving poor and the undeserving poor. So someone got to make the decision whether you were deserving or not deserving. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know who exactly had that power, but somebody had the power. So why this is relevant is this was the type of law and thinking that came with pilgrims to the New World. So that's kind of how that thought, taking care of the poor and the old and the infirm came to America. And so the most important precursor to Social Security was after the Civil War. There were hundreds of thousands of veterans, of orphans, widows that the new government felt they needed to take care of. So they came up with this, the Civil War pensions. That was a major precursor to Social Security. And then the Great Depression really pushed for the enactment in 1935 of Social Security. So I found that quite interesting. If you go on the Social Security website, there's a really nice write-up that talks about the history of Social Security. Okay, so this is just one of the fact sheets that we updated this with this year's information. So this just shows you that 1939, let's see, okay, 1930s, Great Depression really pushed for the development of Social Security. President Roosevelt signed the act into law as part of the New Deal. And this just shows you where 1939, this is when survivors insurance was added. 56, disability insurance was added. 1965, that's when Medicare was added. 1972, supplemental security income was added. And there have been amendments since. It seems like every few years with new administration or different amendments. So this is just kind of showing you how Social Security started as a program to help the poor and included all this. So it's gotten quite large and unwieldy through the years. And this is just to give you a little bit of a scope of what Americans currently receive a benefit. 1/5 are disabled or dependent, 51 million retired workers. So you can see, you know, there's 65 million beneficiaries under the Social Security. So a lot of folks have concerns about whether Social Security will still be there and why it's chronically underfunded. It's simply because so many things have been added into Social Security. Okay, so just a brief overview of the major components of Social Security. And we do a whole webinar on Social Security, so this is just a brief overview. You have your retirement benefits, your disability benefits, survivors benefits, and dependent benefits. Just know that there are a lot of benefits of Social Security that they offer. So big question is how you qualify for retirement benefits. So you must have a minimum amount of wages or net profit for a given year to qualify for that. So you earn 1 credit per quarter, those minimums for that. And I've been carrying this paper, brought this paper up just to tell you what those minimums are. So to earn a credit, which is 1 quarter of the year, you have to have earned income in 2024 of $1,730. So that's about $6,900 for the year. So if you report wages of or income of $6,900 approximately for the year, you will earn 4 credits. So why that's important, you can earn 4 credits a year, 1 for each quarter. So you must have 40 credits or 10 years of required wages or net profits to qualify for Social.
So I want to bring up, I'm going to call Tracy into this because when I was doing taxes, you often would get, I don't want to pay any taxes, I don't want to have show any income. Well, that's where it's going to hit you. It is with your Social Security. So you need to make sure that you have some to be able to get those credits, or you're not going to have a lot of Social Security benefits.
Right, and then if you don't have those, don't meet those 10 years, you won't be eligible for the other benefits as well, disability benefits. Nobody likes to think that they or their family will need those. It's not a lot of money that comes through, but it's a really good stopgap measure. You have unforeseen accidents or things that happen in families. And we know, farmers is one of the most dangerous occupations.
So there is something, so typically what we see with farmers is, especially in your early years, like in your early years when you've got, you're starting out to farm an operation, finances are lean. So you might be showing losses, okay? There are things that your accountant can do on your return that can actually elect to take, and it's only for farmers and fishermen, can elect to take what they call SE minimum, okay? So your farm could physically show a loss, which means you're not putting anything into here, but your accountant can make an election where you turn out and it puts that, whatever the minimum is for that year. So if it's around the 6,900, you'll put 6,900 in. Yes, you may have a little bit of tax to pay on your tax return, but what we find is there are credits that you can't qualify for if you don't have any earned income. When you take this election, guess what? The doors close. A lot of them are like earned income credit, making the child tax credit refundable. So a lot of times what we see is, yes, it might increase the amount of taxes you pay, but it opens up the door for this other stuff that may end up covering that tax and generating a refund. The other thing to remember is when they talk about these 4 quarters worth of credits, okay, for disability, if you become disabled, okay, let's say, God forbid something happens, you become disabled today, okay, disability looks at and says, you have to have 4 quarters worth of credits every year for the last 3 years. And it is a rolling 3-year time period. Okay. So if you worked on farm 5 years ago where you had W-2 wages and you had your 4 quarters worth of credit, but fast forward now, you show losses, chances are you're not going to qualify for disability because you're in that 3-year cyclical flow that you're not following. Okay. That can be significant. Okay. I know firsthand when I was 12, my father was killed in a car accident. He was the major breadwinner for our family. Okay, so this was huge. Thank God I had an uncle who advised my mother. She said, first of all, you've got to go. Your daughter's 12. At that point, my siblings were older than me. Like one was 10 years older, one was 6 years older, so they were kind of aged out. And he said, your husband was the major breadwinner. He's now all of a sudden gone. The person who hit my father in the car and killed him had the minimum auto insurance So my mother was compensated $15,000 for my father's life. And that's what she and I had to live on. And my uncle said, I need you to get down to Social Security. I need you to start drawing on those disability benefits, and I need you to get your daughter on those too, because there are what they call survivors benefits too. So not only was my mother able to draw off my father's Social Security, so was I. And here's where my mom, I'm always thankful for my mother, but she was really smart. She made up her mind that all the money that came from me, her job was to use those funds to raise me. Well, she really didn't, and she never worked outside the home, so she didn't have a skill set, she didn't have a college education, so she was, it was, manual labor stuff. She worked in a factory and she was making $4 an hour. How do you support a family on that? What she did with my funds, she literally took all of the funds that came for me and invested them. So that when it came time for me to go to college, more than half my college education was paid. And I gotta tell you, that was a lifesaver, because my first year of school, I was in a private school and it was $30,000. Okay, so, and that we're talking about this back in 1990. Can't imagine what that cost is now. Okay, so these are really serious things to consider and think about. I'm not advocating paying tax, okay, but a good accountant's job is to make you pay the least amount of tax over your lifetime, but also protecting you for this. And by the way, if you have a spouse, like if you're self-employed, you have a spouse, okay, it's typically a good idea to pay your spouse, put them on payroll, where you're paying them that roughly $7,000 a year, so that they are building 4 quarters worth of credits. Because if they become disabled, they can't draw on yours. It's only if, like, your disability is yours. Okay, so and here's the thing. Okay, so you get a deduction on the sole proprietor, and it comes through his income over here. It's a wash. Okay, but it's also building a Social Security account for your spouse. We don't want to build that hugely. Okay, we don't want you paying your spouse $50,000 a year, and your farm crops being $50,000 a year, because it's going to be better for the spouse to draw off of your Social Security when you retire. Even if you've never worked a day in your life, as long as you've been married for 10 years, you draw off your spouses. Okay. The reason for paying that minimum, because believe me, I know a lot of the spouses that do the bookkeeping and that stuff, well worth way more than $7,000. Okay. But the purpose behind that is to build their Social Security, not build their Social Security, but build it for Social Security disability purposes. Okay. And that way too, when they reach retirement age, it's not like you're not going to have a huge amount to pull from Social Security, because it's going to be better for you to pull for your spouse. That's kind of why we say that at that minimum. So just that's an FYI.
Yes, thank you, Tracy. So you can see why it's important to work with the accountant. They can really show you all these little different things that other folks that don't work with it every day aren't that up to speed with that. One last thing I just want to say about this is that it does go by your highest 35 years. So if you start off with low earnings and go to higher earnings, it will take the highest 35 years of your earnings. And also, the more you put in there, the higher your eventual benefit. So if you're just looking for whatever reason to put in the lowest amount for disability benefits, there's a lot to look at for Social Security, especially when you're married. So there's different strategies that you could have for that. Okay, so just a little overview, just plan ahead, be sure you qualify, understand how to earn credit, think about how you were reporting your income. The business structure does matter. And that's really talking to incoming farmers too. Just really think about this from the beginning. My favorite Stephen Covey quote is the end of the end in mind. So think about what you want your eventual retirement to look like, and work backwards from there. So this is just a little bit how your retirement benefit is calculated. So this is just something you'll see on your statement. They take your base Social Security benefits, you look at your earnings, You adjust or index your actual earnings to the account for changes. Social Security does this all for you. This is just how they determine your benefit. You calculate your average index monthly earnings during the 35 years in which you earn those, and they apply a formula to that. So that's all done for you. You don't have any improvement to that. That's just how it's done. You don't get out the same amount of money. You take what they give you. Okay, so this is just a question we have. So have you looked at your Social Security statement? So it's yes, no, one time, check it regularly. Okay, there's one more down there. G. I think it says, here's a statement. So if you can't get that, and you just want to yell out an answer. So yes, you've looked at it. How many folks have looked at it? How many folks have not?
By the way, they used to issue those right around your birthday, and then they stopped and did it around milestone years, which is usually a 5 or a 0. So like 55, 60. Now you pretty much got to go on to SSA.gov and create an account. But it's really cool because it's interactive and you can have it right then.
Yeah. 15 years.
Yeah, well, and they do, I did see on mine because I'm at a point where like at, I think it's 67 is when I can retire. And it does have, it had a little star next to it, not a big one for reading little stars. The little star said, beginning, I think in 2034, which, by the way, my full retirement age would be 2036. So I'm like 2 years out. Only 80, only roughly be getting about 80% of that number because of, you know, when they talk about Social Security struggling and it's having problems, that's what my little star meant on there. So, you know.
See if there's any stars. We have a statement.
Yeah. I love those little stars.
Okay, so it looks like, I'd say, looks like most folks, I think the folks have looked at their Social Security. Most people said, I remember years ago getting one. But now basically you have to go online. So, okay, so if you want to know what your future Social Security benefits are, you want to go to my Social Security account online and it says open a Social Security account. So you go to SSA.gov, you find that, you open it. There's the link for it. You can simply Google it to Social Security. And you can view your statement. So we just put a sample statement up here so you can find online. And this is just a PDF where you can give you information about that. So this is the top part of the statement. So this is, if you haven't ever seen one of the statements, this is what it will look like. And now we have to break it over 3 slides because it's so big. So just know that there's more to each one of them. It will talk about your retirement benefits, your permanent credits to qualify. So I think if you haven't, it will tell you that right there. I will tell you if you've earned enough to have disability benefits. We'll also talk about your survivor benefits. So
Those survivor benefits are that's what assisted my mom in raising me.
So it will tell you up here, it will tell you which age you retire, how much you will get. It will tell you if there are enough credits to qualify for Medicare. And then we're going to talk about that next, as long as I'm running the pan. Okay, this is what I've always found most interesting is your earnings record. So it will tell you every year you've worked and how much you earned. So I really like seeing back in the day that I earned about $400 in the summer job. So it's just kind of nice to see, kind of fun to look at, a little walk down memory lane. And it puts it all in perspective. When you think about all the money you've earned and you look at how much you're going to save, you think like how much money you've earned through the years and what percentage of that you save. It'd be a little demoralizing. But it's good when you're younger to look at that and just see the whole impact of how much you've earned versus how much you've actually saved. And, you know, this is just a nice little fact sheet. It tells you important things about your Social Security. It gives you everything we've gone over. This is just what your statement looks like. So I'd highly recommend that you go in there and look that up. In the lunchtime if you have a computer, but continue to get home. And this is the bottom part, and it's going to show you also taxes that you've paid into Social Security and your taxes. So just a really lot of good information, Social Security, SSA.gov, and you can get things. The big question, folks, how will Social Security be there for me when I'm retired? So you can see they're saying 2034. And being able up to 2034, be able to pay all benefits full on time until 2032. So what I like to tell folks is that, and everything I've read and folks talk about, will Social Security still be there? Is that it's a exceedingly unpopular thing for a politician to put out there is to cut Social Security benefits. So anytime anyone comes up and says, hey, we need to cut Social Security benefits because we're going to be out of funds, they are not going to get reelected. They're done. So I like to tell folks that it's, it's political suicide for anyone to bring this up. And Social Security, in my opinion, in some form or other, will be. That being said, Social Security is never meant to be your retirement. It's supposed to be a supplement. It was never intended to be your full retirement. It's just a supplement to what you saved through the years. Okay, so we're going to talk briefly about Medicare planning. This is another topic we can spend hours and hours on. So we have about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview. First, we're going to have a poll, last poll. So true or false, you will automatically be enrolled in Medicare at 65. Anyone else have any other? Everyone saying false? Well, this is a trick question because there is an instance where you will be automatically enrolled. So if you are receiving the Social Security benefits, you're receiving, this is one instance, you're receiving Social Security benefits 4 months before you turn 65, you will get a Medicare card and you will get automatically enrolled in Part A. So that is really the only instance where you will be automatically enrolled. Is that by age 64, for 4 months before that, you will get a Medicare card. That's the only, there's so much you can say about that, but that's pretty much the only situation. So for everyone else, you have to apply for Medicare. So just know that, that's important. Just a brief overview of the parts of Medicare. So you have the Part A, which is your hospital insurance. That covers inpatient care. So when you go into a hospital, that covers the hospital bed in a semi-private room. That covers the doctors that are treating you. It covers the medication, covers the bandages they use. So that is, that also covers skilled care. So if you aren't ready to go home yet, there's a certain number of days you get in a skilled nursing facility care. You could talk for half an hour just on Part A. We're not going to do that today. The Part B is your medical insurance, and think of this more as when you go to the doctors. So when you go into a doctor's office, so you get your services from your doctors, you get some the outpatient care, home health care, and durable medical things like water. You have preventative services are also included in that. So you have Part D, that's your drug coverage, helps cover the cost of prescription drugs. It's run by private insurance companies. This isn't your last one, but this is your Medicare supplement. It's also known as a Medigap plan. So this is extra insurance you can buy from a private company. So that will help pay costs that are not covered by original Medicare Parts A and B. So Parts A and B are what are considered original Medicare. So that is your original Medicare. Part B is your drug coverage that you add on. You can buy from private insurance companies a Medigap plan, a Medicare supplement. These are the ones that are A, B, C, D, E, and F. They all have the same exact coverages, no matter who you buy them. So you can buy them from different insurance covered carriers, but they will have the same exact coverage. They will be different premiums, depending which company. And those premiums can go up every year for Medigap. And there's also, I don't know up here, which are your Medicare Advantage plans. Medicare Advantage plans will take the part of Part A and Part B. So once you elect a Medicare Advantage plan, you no longer have Part A and Part B. You have Medicare Advantage in place of Part A and Part B. Some Medicare Advantage plans include drug coverage and some don't. So some separately, some are included. It can all be very confusing. So just know that these are the major components along with your Medicare Advantage. So there's different enrollment periods for all of these, and we're not even going to touch on that today, but just know there's certain times that you have to, that you're allowed to switch plans right now is annual enrollment. I think that's October 15th through December 17th, maybe, out of that time frame. 7. Okay. So that is when you can change into, you can change Medicare Advantage plans. You can elect, get a Medicare supplement plan. And then in the spring, there's another enrollment period. That's just for Medicare Advantage. So just know that these all different enrollment periods are out there. Okay, so how do you qualify? Okay, so everyone is entitled to Part A. If you have a minimum amount of wages or net profit for a given year, you earn 1 credit per quarter if the minimums are met, and 4 credits can be earned in a year. So this sounds a lot like Social Security. So basically, your Medicare qualification is if you qualify for Social Security, you qualify for Medicare. So just know that if you qualify for Social Security, you qualify for Medicare. However, what is the important part to know here is not everyone can get Part A for free. So this is where this comes in with Social Security and Medicare. So if you have not earned your 40 credits, if you've earned 40 credits, your Part A premium is free. If you've not earned your full 40 credits, this is if you have, so if you've earned your full 40 credits, 10 years or more, your Part A premium costs nothing. So that is something to think about when you turn 65 and you're still working. You can elect to start taking your Part A because it's free to you if you have your credits. If you are still working and covered under an employee plan and you don't have 40 credits, you probably won't want to elect to start taking Part A because you'll be paying. You're already covered by another plan, so you don't want to. So just know that there's a lot of intricacies there. So this is how much you pay if you or your spouse work between 30 and 39 quarters. So you're going to be paying $278 a month for Part A, which is just the basic part. That is how much you'll pay if you work fewer than 30 quarters. So if you could see, Part A coverage can be very expensive if you haven't got your Social Security quarters in. Put down, let's see. I don't remember these numbers. So if you take that $506 from ages 65 to 85, that's going to cost you $121,440. So when you think about it, you're paying $500 a month. That's a little over $6,000 a year. For 20 years, that's not accounting for the price increase. You're paying over $100,000 for just Part A, not counting Part B. Your Part B premiums will be deducted from your Social Security. So this is all just to show you that Medicare and Social Security are related. Why do you want to get your 40? I always find that number shocking. So plan ahead, be sure to qualify, understand how to earn your credit, think about how you're reporting your income, check your Medicare eligibility, which is basically your Social Security eligibility. Do that now. No matter what age you are, do that now. And this is just, how to check your Medicare eligibilities. Basically, you can go into Medicare.gov or you can go into Social Security, either website. So this is why we put in, because we think, don't let this be you, because it's going to be really overwhelming. And we just want to let you know that there is help out there. So Sam's going to take over for the rest of the presentation, but there's nothing I just want to say regarding Medicare that when you're looking to buy a plan or looking for Medicare, Medicare is sold by licensed insurance agents. And the fact is, Medicare is a federal program. There are very strict rules about how to buy Medicare, who can sell it to you. So you have to basically form a relationship with the agent. No one can cold call you to sell you Medicare. They can't put flyers on your car for Medicare. I used to sell Medicare. I was a licensed insurance agent. There's very strict rules. So don't let anyone approach you about Medicare if you have not agreed to. There are folks that will try to put you in a certain plans. Just know that no one is legally allowed to approach you. You have to give permission. And I will say the best thing to do is, in my opinion, is to work with a licensed broker that represents multiple plans. So when I was selling Medicare, I had access to at least a dozen different. And that's who you want to go with. You want to go with someone who can put you in the best plan for your needs, not just what they're selling. So if you see a flyer for UPMC, they're a great company and their plan may be the best, but they're only going to offer you UPMC plans. Same with Ledney. So if you work with a broker, and ask them how they're compensated. Most folks are compensated by commission they make to sell the plan, which is fair, but just know that they should be offering you more. So, I'm gonna turn that. Do you want to?
No, I'll just talk real loud. Kind of just going off of what Paula was saying, what is a financial planner? So there really is no standard definition. So a financial planner is a professional who assists a client in meeting life goals through financial advice that integrates relevant elements of the client's personal and financial circumstances. A fiduciary is an individual who is ethically bound to act in another person's best interest. This obligation eliminates the conflict of interest concerns and should make an advisor's advice more trustworthy, and who must act as a fiduciary. So this is where Paula was just talking a little bit. An RIA, which is a registered investment advisors, and then you have broker dealers, stockbrokers, and insurance agents. They are only required to fulfill a suitability obligation. Products must be suitable, but they do not have to put clients' interests for their own. So again, anyone can call them a planner, so be careful. A CFP is a certified financial planner. They have education, training, and ethics that they have to follow. There's a website, Broker Check, which is a free tool to show research advisors, brokers, and firms. I know I've used this tool when we were trying to figure out what financial planner we wanted to go with, my husband and I. So I've used it and it works well. It'll even tell you if they got in trouble with the law for whatever reason, it will tell you on that. And then you have an SEC investment advisor public disclosure database. So this is just, if you've never heard of that Broker Check, it's super easy to choose. You show what area you're looking for. Here's a QR code that's in your book. So if you want to look into that, that's there. And Brian briefly talked about this. There's resources available for your financial and transition planning. And you'll see later, we have a whole bunch of workshops that are in person and webinar coming up on retirement planning. And then Brian talked about these, so I'm not going to go into detail, but the state has the Vitality Grant and the center has their grants as well. Questions? Okay, next up we have a roundtable discussion. I guess I'm going to pause for a second and just cover what this book and this other book is. This planning of the farm future, the future of your farm is a PA Farm Link book, and it will help you walk through the steps if you're not working with an advisor. So this is just an additional resource for you to take home. This is one per couple, correct, Emily?
I get a few extra copies.
Okay.
Couple.
So until 11:50, we'll do a roundtable discussion. That's with like Charlie, myself, Paula, Jen, Tracy. We'll walk you through these discussions to see, and if it keeps going, good, because we'll have another discussion at the end of the day based on what Tracy and Jen talk about. Questions?
Maybe when we start out.
Five. And then I'll see if I can get up from my.